Greetings, beautiful soul family from all over the world. Welcome to the RAWvolution podcast. I am Queen Aline, and I am so happy to be joined once again by our beautiful Queen Elissa Paige. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you haven't seen our first conversation we had, please check it out, where she talks about her incredible journey, her incredible healing journey with yoga, following trauma, following a very, very near death accident that her and her husband went through, where she was extremely injured. And from that, she had a rebirth in her life. She had an awakening, and she has also been, healing herself with raw living foods, a vegan lifestyle. She's a beautiful mama, ambassador for, a beautiful message from God. And I'm so happy to have her back on today. We will be, yeah, well, let's I don't want to say too much because we're going to get into like a little grounding exercise before we get started so that everybody can just take a moment. If you're anything like me, you're very busy, you always have things going on in your life, preparing food for the kids and running back and forth. So Queen Elissa suggested that we do a little mini meditation. So before we do this, we do want your mom to join us. So let me just make sure that we tag you in the post, and
Oh,
then we'll get started with our little meditation. And we invite you all to take a moment to pause with us, right? To just like be present in the moment. Because like I said, a lot of the time we're just like running around and we don't take time to take a moment to just be with ourselves, be in the moment. So I tagged you, and can you see it on Facebook? Are you seeing it on your?
I did see it on Facebook and I just shared it to my page. Thank
Okay,
you so much.
perfect. I'm going to share it in our group, in our RAWvolution, and our RAWvolution Inner Circle as well.
Awesome.
Excellent. And let's get into it. So, as a yoga teacher, she has been trained in meditation as well. And I'm so looking forward to this juicy grounding practice with you, beautiful.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. And it is my pleasure to be back with you talking again. I'm so excited to see what the universe has in store for us to talk about. Okay, so first let's try to just ground down. And like you said, everybody's so busy. It's the afternoon in most parts of the world right now, at least in our part of the world. So let's just take a minute to get comfortable, however that looks for you. Maybe closing your eyes, maybe your eyes are gently gazing down, just rolling your shoulders up and down your back, finding a tall spine, and just taking notice of what you might feel around you, what you might feel in the room, what you sense, maybe even paying attention to the breath as it comes in through the nose and out through the nose. And I invite you to just check in how that feels. I also invite you to meet yourself where you're at right now. So if you're feeling a little bit scattered, accept that. If you're feeling calm, accept that. Just surrender to the moment. Find a minute of truth, a minute of pause. And maybe if you're comfortable with it, start inhaling through your nose and filling your belly for a count of 5, if that works. Maybe exhaling for a count of 6 through the nose. Continuing that process. I use the word surrender, just surrendering to what you're feeling, letting go. Maybe leaning into acceptance right now, leaning into non-attachment, not attaching to any feelings or judgment. Just also finding some time to trust yourself and to trust everything that's around you. As we're going through this process, you might start to feel a little bit calm. And that's your nervous system shifting from the sympathetic into the parasympathetic, a place that not many of us find ourselves these days, but so crucial, so important to be. Take a couple of more breaths here. On your next inhale, if you feel called to placing your left hand over your heart and your right hand over your left, just feeling your heartbeat, reminding you of how you're alive. And then knowing that you can take this little simple practice anywhere throughout your day. Anytime you're feeling that you need it, anytime you're feeling uneasy or unbalanced. And as you sit here or stand or lie, wherever you are at, bringing acceptance into your life and compassion and love and also gratitude. And if you're ready, fluttering your eyes open, maybe rubbing your hands on your thighs to bring some life back into your body. Okay, how does that feel?
I wasn't ready to come out.
I'm sorry. We
That
could
was
stay there all
so
day, right?
lovely. Your voice is so soothing.
It is. Thank you.
Wow, I needed that. I definitely needed a pause, and you are a
Oh,
great
I'm
guide.
so glad to offer it to you and for your acceptance of it.
Of course, with open heart. I think we should definitely start all conversations this way, you know? I love what you said about getting into our parasympathetic nervous system, right? It's like the sympathetic is a lot of the time we're in fight or flight. We don't even realize it. We're breathing really shallow. We're not fully like in this like place of peace and place of calm, right? Where I think like so many, just everything could go so much better in our life if we took more time, to do that. And I try to do it like throughout my day, when I'm driving or I'm stuck in traffic or anything, like when stress starts to come up, I'm like, okay, just take a few deep breaths and center yourself again. Because it's not
Yeah,
healthy to be stressed out all the time.
it's so not healthy. And our breath, I mean, our body's just going to do it naturally. But if we actually take the time to pay more attention to our breath and to deliver it to where we need it and be conscious and aware, it makes a huge difference, a huge difference. So I try to practice it as well throughout my day. But like we said at the beginning of this conversation, we're always jumping from one thing to the next, right? Life makes it so hard. We just all need to move to an island.
That's what I've been saying. It's going to happen. It's going,
Yes.
watch it. Like it's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
It's
I believe
already
you.
happening.
Yeah.
When the time is right, it's about to just all of us like aligning ourselves with that vibration. And I keep thinking of that too. It's so important to keep our vibration high. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world. There's a lot of so many negative things happening in and out of our lives, things that we have control over, things we have no control over. So, today we wanted to talk a little bit about trusting the process, and perhaps hopefully inspiring and helping somebody out there who may be going through something difficult. Like, this was less than 2 years ago that you were in a hospital bed with 12 broken bones, a bruised face, severe nerve pain. You were in a upper body brace for 6 weeks. I mean, talk about having an existential crisis. You know what I mean? Where like you must have been questioning things, questioning God, questioning the universe, being like, why would this happen to me? Like, I'm a good person, good people have horrible things happen to them. And we're like, but why? And it's that whole I don't have all the answers. We're not here to give you all the answers, but I find it so beautiful when we can transform that horrible thing into pure gold, just like how you've done. You've transformed, you've alchemized, you've chosen to stay positive, you've decided to turn this pain into power. And I just love your testimonial, because you decided that, and which is it's a choice to not be a victim, right? Like horrible things could happen to us, but it's always our responsibility to do the healing work, right? As hard as it is, you still have a choice either to stay in victim mentality or to take the appropriate steps to healing. And you chose or the path of yoga chose you. I'm not sure it
Right.
chose you like it was a calling, right? To go into trauma-informed yoga healing so that you can not only heal yourself, but you could teach this to others. And I love this because that is the powerful alchemy of the goddess, right? The woman, the queen, and I mean men too, but this is like the sacred fire that I feel is very feminine energy, whether you're a man or a woman. It's like that alchemical process is very, very divinely feminine to me. I don't know. That's just what's coming through. It's like this beautiful
Yeah.
feminine energy coming through. Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I can recap on my story, and everything you said completely resonates with me. And it's so true. There's so many things that you were talking about, just not living in lack, not living in victimhood. I did go there a whole bunch of times. I blamed a lot of people for the accident. Um, and just to recap, yeah, less than 2 years ago in January, my fiance, he's well, husband, fiance, my partner, and I were in a motorcycle accident, and I had 12 to 13 broken bones. I did have something like a slight fracture in my sacrum too. Um, and I was in the hospital for 5 days, and I was bound in an upper body brace for 6 weeks. And I had to start over, going from, fit and active and being that active mama and involved, and just completely never, hardly ever having any sort of body pains, always being active, to whittling down to like nothing. I was super frail and skinny and weak, and having my parents come take care of me, and going through nights of pain, emotional and physical, thinking about karma, thinking about how this is karma, also learning about generational karma. Maybe this wasn't my karma to have, learning how to not place blame, and to really, really try to accept, to harness like all of my energy and try to accept that things happen for us and not to us. Um, and then trying to see how I could turn this instance, this massive thing that happened to me, around and have it help me, and most of all have it help others. The amount of trauma that I've experienced and still experience and go through, I personally feel that when you're still living in pain from an accident or an emotional wound, that the trauma is still there. So I do still have an emotional wound. I do still have physical pain. I do still deal with the trauma every day. Just this weekend, I had a really hard weekend with it. And like you said, we were talking about trusting the process, and we were touched on talking about people maybe being scared to share their story. I've spoken a lot about my story, but not so much publicly. And I do think it's now time to speak about it publicly, because I do want to help other people. And I think everybody has a story. And I think it's beautiful to be able to share our story to, number one, of course, heal ourselves, for us to bring our light to others.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
I think that's so brave and noble of you to, want to come out and share your story because even though we all have a different story, we all can connect on, the humanity part of us. Like we've all been through something. We can all kind of relate to each other, but sometimes that shame we feel and then it's only in our own mind, right? It's like, I was so worried as well coming out and sharing about addictions for a while. And I was just like, oh my God, what are people gonna think? They're gonna judge me and this and that. But the more I shared, first of all, the less it hurt inside myself. Like it was a release. And then also the more I connected with others that were going through that, so you are definitely going to connect with others who have struggled as you do. And like you don't know who you're going to help with your testimony, with your journey. So I love that you say that. And I also hope that this inspires others to share their journey and share their story because, it's you may think like everything's been said and done under the sun, right? And it's like, oh, why should I say it? Oh, this one and that one is already sharing about this, but nobody's saying it quite like how you're saying it, and nobody has done it before like you have. So
Yeah.
you are special and unique and you have your gifts, and people will resonate with you saying it, and it's like that's like we just go through life kind of picking up pieces and picking up diamonds and gems and some dirty rocks too. Like we're just picking up a
Right.
lot of different things. So why not us? Why not this right now? And everybody who's on right now, thank you so much for joining. Like it's always divine. It's always like in perfect timing. So I'm super grateful for you, and your light is shining so, so bright. Yeah, I just love how you've been transforming yourself, and like inspiring not only yourself, but all of those around you, your family and everybody who watches you. Like, you're truly, truly a powerful woman. And this is literally like, the saying, I think we mentioned it on our first talk, but it's like the wound is where the light enters you. And so a lot of the time people wonder where the purpose is. And I feel like God kind of allows these things to happen in order for us to awaken. It's
Yeah.
like, I will allow you to go through this storm. And perhaps he's even creating this storm. Who knows? Like, I definitely feel like there's some kind of divine intervention, even in the terrible things that happen, where it's like God works in mysterious ways. Well, maybe these are some of the mysterious ways that he works in. People may end up with a disease or like an addiction or just different things happening where it's like, and we're allowed to feel that anger. And I think that's important too, like to question things and to feel everything, all the feelings that we have. Like, let's come to him with all of our emotions
It's
because,
true. We
yeah.
shouldn't bypass our feelings. We need to sit in our feelings and acknowledge them. And I do 100% agree with you. I think it's God, universe, whoever your source is, whoever your deity is, whoever it is that you look up to, which we all should look up to something that's bigger than us, because I think that opens us up for more acceptance.
Mhm.
And like you are so brave to talk about your addictions, and you were granted those addictions to be able to make yourself healthy, to help other people. And I think we touched on this last time. Like, our shadows are so much a part of our light. They're so much a part of our light. And if we, like I said, bypass those shadows and don't acknowledge why they exist and what good we can use them for, I don't think we'll ever be shown the light. I cannot believe that I was in a motorcycle accident that almost killed my fiance, had me passed out lying on the ground. It's to this day, I don't think I'm talking about myself. And I've been through eating disorders, addiction. Like, I've been through eating disorders. I've been through a horrendous divorce. I've been through a lot in my life.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm a good person.
Yeah.
So why does this happen? And if we sit still with that and we meditate on it, or we perform, or we or we practice yoga,
Mhm.
any sort of activity, mindful activity, I think we can come close to maybe not finding the answers, but come close to more acceptance, and then finding where we take our shadows or our stories and where we can place them.
Mhm.
I didn't want this accident to have me in a place where I was completely in the dark and not doing anything to move forward. So, as we discussed, I went through and I became a trauma informed yoga instructor. And I am so grateful for the opportunity to be able to have done that to help other people. And like I said, I admit I'm human. I live with my traumas. I live with what I go through every day. And so are you. And you talk freely about it. And I think it's so important to be able to share your story and not fear what other people are going to think, because then that's them living in their ego,
Mhm.
right? And we don't want to live in ego.
Yeah. No, we're here to Yeah, we're here to dismantle stuff. We're here to just like
Break it
bring
down.
things to the light, bring things to the surface that oftentimes we don't want to bring to the surface, right? But then the more we repress it, the more we suppress it, the more it manifests in self-destructive ways. And I feel like sometimes we play with our life too, we do things unconsciously because we're not fully connected to the value of our own life. And I think like for me too, it had to come to a very, very scary point for me to completely transform my habits, and really take a look at how I was living and what I was doing to myself, to my body, to my mind. I don't know. I think we're stubborn people, and I feel like, as hard as it is to say, I feel we're the lucky ones to be here today, out of our addictions, out of our eating disorders, taking care of ourselves, honoring ourselves, and it had to come to this crazy point where we almost lost our life to be like, wait a minute, I want to live. I love my life. I don't
I
want to
love
harm
myself.
myself. Mm,
Yeah, I I believe that, and I agree with you. It's loving ourselves. And we spoke about this last time too, looking in the mirror, telling yourself, I love you. And if it feels uncomfortable, good, keep doing it. Right?
yeah.
Because that addiction that you experienced and coming to what how you just expressed, could have been the end of your life, made you realize how much you did love yourself, and made you realize, why am I disrespecting myself this much to be abusing myself when I have so many gifts to share, right? And that was your way of finding it out. My way was an accident. Somebody else's way is something different, but those are our gifts.
Mhm.
And it's so contradictory to say that something so painful is a gift, but when you really hone into that, it it is our gift. It's our magic, and
Mhm.
we need to share it with others, because there's others out there right now that are probably suffering with addiction and don't know that they can love themselves, and they look to you and they see your light shining, and that's so helpful to them, right? And then the same with me. Maybe there's people out there suffering from trauma, maybe it's from an accident, maybe it's from an emotional trauma, and know like that I, at the age of when that happened, was 47, was able to pull through. Okay, Tom is literally ducking and walking past right now. I had to make note of it. That was very funny.
We wouldn't have noticed. I saw a little
He's
arm, I
crawling.
think.
Yeah, he's like crawling past. But like on a, we're humans. We need to laugh. We need
Yeah,
to be real, right? But
of
like on
course.
a more serious note, like people need to feel that they can share. They need to trust themselves enough to share their stories, because they never know how much they're gonna, number one, help somebody else, but number one help themselves.
Mhm. Oh, 100%. 100%. Oh my gosh. I love everything you're saying. And had I not had the experience of, my best friend being in the hospital with cystic fibrosis, so when I met her, we were in addiction recovery together, and I mean, this girl, I mean, the amount of problems that she had, like, unbelievable, unbelievable. I couldn't even believe it. I mean, when I met her, she had an oxygen tank. Cystic fibrosis is a very, very serious disease. Um, and she was in need of a second lung transplant. Lungs transplant. Okay, like not one. She had done one 6 years before that, but after a certain time, they start to deteriorate. So she went through a second lung transplant, and she almost died in that whole operation. I mean, we were on the edge of our seats. We didn't know if she was even going to receive the lungs, but she got it at the last minute when she was already in a coma, in an induced coma for a few days. I mean, her sister was on the news, like trying to beg people to sign the donor card, like, let's get my sister some lungs. And it was just like edge of our seat kind of situation where she died pretty much like 4 times on the operating table because it took them days to do the surgery. She ended up surviving. I don't even understand how this girl survived this surgery, right? She was skin and bones. She probably weighed like 60 pounds. She was tiny, tiny. And she survived. She couldn't speak for weeks, but she was slowly recovered, you know? And I was just like, okay, I got chills. Like, this is a miracle of life, you know, that she received the lungs that fit her body, that she made it out. And this girl, I mean, and it didn't end there, you know, she had many other issues that went on, gastroparesis, and just so many things that were associated with this. But she was the happiest person I had met. She's like was so happy and so grateful just to be able to breathe, just to be able to live. And then in the last years of her life, she was stuck in a hospital room for days, months on end, a whole year. She was basically in because she had contracted COVID, and she just had like so many. I mean, people say there's no COVID, but there's something going on, you know, that makes people
Yeah.
very sick. Let's just put it that way. Something happened where she
Mhm.
had to be hospitalized. And, you know, she rarely complained. Like, it was very rare that she would complain. And she was just like lighting up the people that came to visit her, the hospital staff. Like, this was her life, and she could barely move. And it was just like, she was just this beautiful little angel, you know, that came into my life. She helped me get clean. She brought me to my first um I don't even know. This is anonymity, but she passed away. She was pretty open about it. But anyway, like she definitely helped me to get sober and clean. And I love her so much, you know, but all this to say, like, she was so grateful, you know, and that's what I take from that friendship is like just be grateful no matter what's happening, as long as you're alive, as long as you're like breathing, there's something to be grateful for. It could be the apple you're about to eat, you know, she would get so excited when she would get her little snack, you know, from the hospital. Like that was her joy in her life was the
Yeah.
food and seeing people. And she was just like so in the present moment, the way she loved, the way she connected with us, like looking at you in the eye, being present. Like she taught me everything about being in the present moment and also accepting death in a sense, you know, like not being afraid of death, not being afraid of that transition.
I was gonna say, and I don't want to put words
Yeah.
in like of what maybe her thoughts were at that time, but maybe she didn't think of it as a death, but a
Mhm.
transition. And
Yeah.
maybe that helped her.
Yeah.
And I see that I I am, I mean, after what I went through with the story that you're telling me, I am such a believer in we are here for a reason and everything happens for us and not to us.
Yeah.
I am, I never understood it before. And now, and I do get sidetracked with life and I let petty little things get into my life, which I think we all do. But I think, like you said, trust the process
Mhm.
and like try to find. I have one of my best friends, Lauren. I don't know if she's watching or not, but she always says find magic in the mundane,
Mm.
and it's so true. It's so pertinent. It's just it's there's so much justification behind it. Like that's how you find. That's how you live life happy, because we don't know what the next phase is, right? After we're on this realm, we don't know what happens after that. And I don't want to think of it as an ending or a death. And this, I'm not going to even turn the conversation in that way, but we need to really appreciate everything for how it comes and know that we almost always have a choice. And when I say that, we're free to choose and think however we want up here, right? So we can turn these situations around and like your dear friend, and that's just a beautiful story that she was such a fighter. So she was brave. She
Mhm.
was so brave.
Yeah.
So brave.
Yes, the courage to fight. She was fighting so hard till the very end until she couldn't fight no more. And you know, like yeah, she had a very noble death as well. We were all surrounding her, and it was just like really, her whole life was so epic, you know, so epic. And
Yeah.
she saw that magic everywhere. She felt God everywhere. I was like, this girl brought me to God because I didn't really believe in God. Even after everything. I mean, I started to like early on in my recovery, but it was really when I met her, when she uh her faith, you know, seeing her faith, I was like, how could this girl believe in God? I was like, I think it just didn't make sense to me because to me,
Yeah.
like everything had to be good and you had to be like so blessed in life to be like, oh, praise God. But she was there like in a bad shape and she was like, I believe in God. God is good. And I was like, oh, okay, like I tried to understand that faith, and
Yeah.
she really helped me to have faith and to
Yeah,
believe.
it
Hmm.
sounds like to me that she knew her purpose and she knew that she had a purpose and then she utilized that. And I
Yeah,
think that that's a good lesson for everybody, listening and for you and I
yeah.
is to know we all serve a purpose.
Mm,
And I mean, I know a lot of people are going through hard times. I think, since like 2019, when the world really, really started to change, when we first noticed that it started to change, I think a lot of people have been having awakenings and like feeling differently about things and feeling more like energetically the pull of the universe. And like you said, like, I mean, everything is energy. And we feel these connections or these disconnections. I just think, I know for me personally, there's so many like bigger feelings now that I feel. And it's just, we just all need more love. Like we really do. We really need to accept more people and find more love and like understand the connection and how we're all connected. We're connected to that tree I'm looking at outside the
mhm.
window. Like, right? Like that tree
Yeah,
has a purpose. Maybe
yeah.
it's for me to look at it and feel better about my day. Right?
I love what you said about finding the magic in the mundane, and it's all in how we look at things because we could perceive things so differently, right? We could look at a big pile of dishes and just be like, "Oh my God, I don't want to do this.
But
I'm
I
so
get to
tired
do
of
it.
cleaning." You like to
But I
clean?
get to do it,
I
right?
get to do it, yeah.
I get to do
I get
it.
to do it. I'm so lucky. I have a sink. I have dishes. I just ate a bunch of food. Like I fed my child. Like I
Yeah.
get to do these dishes and she gets to help me. We get
Ex-
to do this together and the water running
yeah.
through my hands, like it becomes a meditation. So I do have been working on that as well and coming out of depression as well. My mentor used to tell me like write a list of 10 things you're grateful for. And can you believe I had a hard time finding 10 things to be grateful for at the time? Like I was so just seeing dark, like depression can affect us in ways where you're not really seeing things as the reality of it. It's just like you're just seeing really dark, right? So he had me write down 10 things every single day that I was grateful for. And that set me on a whole new journey of gratitude, right? It's like I'm trusting the process. I may not be 100% happy with the way things are. Like, I didn't want to be in rehab. I didn't want to be away from my child. Like, th no, this is not the way it's supposed to be, right? And I was like, part of me was like resisting it and being like feeling all the things, right? Like angry with myself, feeling very just confused, right? But I definitely was very angry with myself for ending up in that place. Like, I took responsibility and I was like, I can't believe the mess I've created. So all of that kind of came melting, over me. Like I just kind of melted into that. But then over time, the forgiveness started coming in, the self-love started coming in, and the gratitude started coming in. And it really helped me to just understand things and understand, have compassion for myself, and to see that why these things happened was because I was in a state of depression. I was in a state of unhappiness. And so the drugs, the alcohol came in as a way to self-medicate. Like I wasn't trying on purpose to kill myself. I wasn't trying on purpose to like cause such a destruction around me. Like that wasn't a conscious thing that I was doing. I was just, I guess, trying to feel better. And then I got caught up in it. So once I started seeing things from that perspective and just being grateful and being like, wow, you get some time to yourself. Like you get to heal. You have this beautiful opportunity to go explore plant medicines, to build community, to just like, focus on yourself without being a mom. I hadn't had kind of a break from my daughter in 7 years. Like maybe you were just doing too much. Maybe you were feeling depleted. Maybe the people around you weren't necessarily pouring into you. So from that came like me setting more boundaries for myself, me leaving toxic partners, never, like there's so much that has come from that where at the
Yeah.
time it could have been like, oh my gosh, I am such a train wreck. Like I, you
Hey,
know?
so from what I am hearing from like your story of what you just shared, like you were unintentionally, or maybe, sorry, you were intentionally making these decisions to self-medicate, to try
Mhm.
to pull yourself out of this darkness of this, like this. feeling that you had towards yourself of, I don't know what it was, but maybe not loving yourself enough. And then, you struggled with feelings of like that you weren't good enough when you were in rehab, and that you were destroying things when actually you weren't. You were brave, and you were intentionally making that decision, that conscious decision, to show your daughter how strong you are, because something was broken and it needed to be fixed, and you were brave enough to do that. And I commend you for that. And that takes a lot of courage, because there's a lot of people out there that they're not so fortunate to do that for themselves, and the story looks a lot different for them and their families.
Yeah.
And again, we always have a choice, and you chose to do that. And I think that your daughter probably appreciates you so much for doing that, for being a present mom, now even more so present mom, with the lifestyle that you choose, to be able to vibrate at this high level and show her that it's possible to have that vibration where you're like feeling it all. And like you can like very, very consciously sober in a state of complete awareness share with her and be there for her. So I hope you don't still beat yourself up for being in that place, because like I said, our shadows are our light.
Yeah, thank you so much, Divine
Yeah,
Reflection, for saying that.
yeah,
No, I think we're definitely in a good place now. So yeah, I mean, I had like seven visits to rehab, so it wasn't just one. So can you imagine by the seventh one, I was just like, get this, let's get it together, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. Well,
This,
if that's what it took,
yeah,
right? If
yeah,
that's what it took, at least you did it.
yeah,
You're not
yeah.
the only one.
And not only, yeah, no, thank you so much for saying that. I'm definitely I put the whip down. I put the whip
Yeah,
down, and I think it's so good for her now because she has no interest in drinking, no interest in doing anything. Thank
right,
God, because she's like, I don't even because we have these like real conversations where I'm like, this is where this could lead, you know? And we have a predisposition in her family. Like all of it just has come up to the surface. And I think it's for her highest good. She has, I mean, anything can happen, but the conversation has opened and I think it really scared her. And I think sometimes that could be a really good thing, to see somebody almost, die from that, somebody that you care about. You're gonna
right.
think twice before touching it if somebody offers it to you. Oh yeah, and I also wanted to say too, like I do realize that a lot of people don't have that. I was very blessed to have a family who helped me, who financially to go to these places because I know it's not like accessible to everyone. And even from that has come my desire and passion to open up a space where people could come from all over the world and have some kind of sliding scale, like where some can afford more and can give more to come, and then others could have access to it for nearly nothing or even nothing, but
Right,
it's like I do feel there's a need for that, because some people truly, truly want it and they're ready to work for it, but they don't necessarily have the funds for it. What's going to happen? So that definitely touched my heart a lot. And, I had a lot of friends that were encouraging me to go get the help. And I was just like, it's not fair. I had that like survivor's guilt too, to leave them and to go get myself help. And I was like, but it's not fair. But again, like, it's like that trusting the process, trusting that I was being called, that I had the resources, that my family was behind me. Like it's like a calling, right? It's like you feel different. You're like, okay, like I'm being chosen for something. I'm being prepared for something bigger. And I've always known this, even going to some of the centers. I was kind of like taking notes and doing research because I knew I was going to open a healing center someday. I didn't know how, when, or what, but it's like life brought me to these places where I was like, ah, this isn't good. This is good.
right.
I wouldn't do this. They're missing the food
Yeah,
part. Always the food part was like a big part of it, right? Again, like that was like a big component to healing myself. I was like, man, they want me on these medications. No, no, no. I'm gonna go juice cleanse. Again, like those things kind of came into my lap where I was like, there's another way. And yeah.
yeah, no, absolutely. And again, it's going back to trusting the process, and it's also going back to like, believing and the acceptance of the whole situation, and just wanting to get to that place, and you got to that place because you wanted it, right? You wanted it enough. And
Mm.
again, like there's so many people that can relate to it. And it's also just like loving yourself and knowing your worth. And it pains me to know that people will go out and like drink their pain away, or like snort their pain away, or like do all of these things to just not feel.
Mhm.
Like we want to feel, we have to feel, and it might be uncomfortable to feel. I know for a lot of people it is,
Yeah.
but it's a part of life, you know, it's a part of life. And I mean, the survivor's guilt that you talk about, I have that too. I look at Tom, you know, every day with like his whole neck fused and like his right hand like not working to like how it should be working, not being able to flex it, not being able to turn it, and like losing a 30-year career.
Mm.
And like he looks at me and he's like, I wish I was in like the position you're in. And it's like, you know, that guilt, it's difficult, but this happened for a reason. There is a reason.
Mm.
There's a reason for what you went through. There's a reason for what I'm going through and went through.
Yeah.
There's a reason for what he went through and is going through.
Mm.
So,
I'm so
yeah,
sorry, Tom. I wish I could
I,
make it all better.
you know, it's a difficult situation, you know, being that it's almost tears out, you know, in the beginning, like you were talking about your friend, like he almost died also, you know, like 3 times. And there's so much attention and there's just so much, you know, going on in the beginning. And now it's like people, I don't think a lot of people realize how he deals with pain all the time, and just like ordinary things, you know, like hurt, you know, like last night he's actually building us planters for the garden. And he, you know, like with this like limited capability he has with his hand. And last night he had to come in, he had to lay down because his neck is hurting. Um, it's 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 upsetting, and it's upsetting to see. And like I don't think people, or like the general audience, and even I can understand what it must be like to be feeling that pain. And we started this conversation and I said, I feel that we're always going to deal with trauma because, you know, the issues are in the tissues as long as we feel pain in our body. So for him, he's always feeling pain in his body. So it's, you know, the reminder is always there.
Yeah.
I just completely took the conversation in a 180.
It's okay. It's okay. We're sending him. This was meant
Squirrels
to happen.
everywhere.
Trust the process.
Trust the process. It's happening for a reason.
Trust that whatever is coming up is meant to come up, and we're all, we're all here to support him too, and sending him so much love. And
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
amazing.
But I think, I mean, I just think that your message, my message, Tom's message, like people that are healers or want to heal is all the same. Like in trusting the process and then doing things that really support our body, our emotional or subtle, like our physical, all of that, to like to keep on moving forward. You and I have spoken about like our lifestyle and like what we do to like try to stay in like an alkaline state where we are like always vibrating higher and always, you know, trying to feel our best with like as little inflammation as possible and being so open and aware. So I think that all of these factors come into play, and
Yeah.
it's all one big beautiful circle of healing and light.
I want to come back to something that you said about, I'm just writing a comment, and 1 second.
Comments.
One of our friends who joined us has been going through something similar to this. He's an amazing warrior. Um, so
Writing a comment.
feeling everything. Wow, that's like such a golden nugget. Who is ready to really feel it all? Who is ready to sit with themselves in silence with no distractions for 5 minutes, 10
So,
minutes, 30 minutes, and be
so
ready to let whatever comes up come up. And I think that is the practice of a lifetime. That is the spiritual practice of a lifetime. When's the last time you've done that? I'm not saying you, I'm just saying in general,
in
right? Like I'm
general,
saying me even, like I used to have such a disciplined meditation practice, and life comes up, and we don't I don't always do it. And I think I'm still running. I am still running from being with myself. And then when I think of it, like, what am I running from? What am I truly running from? What am I afraid of? But that has been what really helped me to come out of the addictions is being ready to be uncomfortable with whatever comes up, being uncomfortable with the tears, letting them flow, feeling the anxiety, feeling the sadness, feeling that restlessness, whatever it is that you have. And the more you feel it, it's kind of like you go up, 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 up. You may feel that like anxiety building up, but then at some point, it's going to end up going back down. So I just encourage everybody to like have those moments, where you're just with yourself, without your phone, without your TV, without anything, whether it's in the morning, in the rising, or at night before you go to sleep, like just be still with yourself. Like that meditation that we just did. It could be 5 minutes, it could be 2 minutes, breath work. Like it doesn't have to be this huge giant practice, but just a few moments a day to be with yourself.
It's
Why is it so
allowing
scary?
it's 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 I think it sounds scary for a lot of people, and it's allowing yourself to be vulnerable, but we're never going to get to where we want to be if we don't go through it. And
Mm,
it's sitting in the uncomfortable. And like we said in the beginning, it's not bypassing any feelings. It's sitting with those feelings and sit with it. Like right now, like we all can just sit with it. Like what are we feeling? What is coming up? Lean
mhm.
into it, accept it, feel it. It doesn't have to be solved, but acknowledge it and feel it. And sometimes it really is scary and doesn't feel good. I said to you the last time we spoke, the first time I got on my yoga mat after the accident, I just cried the entire time. I mean, there's so much to be said about that. I was feeling it, and I don't do well in stillness, but I do well when I'm moving through my yoga flow and when I'm like able to get into certain asanas and hold them.
Mhm.
That's my stillness. It's a slow stillness, but for me, that's what works. And trying to really feel what might be coming up in my head, because a lot of times you have to pull yourself back in. It doesn't matter what happened before or after, it matters about this present moment right now.
Amazing. Our Queen Cheryl says, Me, I'm ready to feel all the feels. I love that.
Oh, let's
That,
help her.
yes. It's just like
Yeah.
holding space for ourselves like we would to a best friend, right? That's how I kind of like see it
It's,
now. It's like, okay, my
yeah.
friend would come to me with an issue. I wouldn't be like, oh, stop crying. It's like, no, cry. Like if whatever you're feeling, go for it. So it's like, why don't we allow ourselves to have that too? And I don't hold back my tears anymore. That's something that I realized I was doing a lot, and that was really harming me. So if they come up and I'm in the grocery store, like I will literally cry in the middle of the grocery store.
Yeah.
I am just like really in touch with that. Yeah.
I think it's so important. I think society has placed a stigma or a some sort of a block on us being able to like really feel. And you were talking about in the beginning, like as humans, like we have feminine energy, we have masculine energy, and we need to balance that out. Like we need to have both of them, and our partners and our relationships and our people in our lives, like they deserve the best of who we are and we deserve the best of who they are. And if we don't sit in our feelings and we're drinking them away, or we're moving through our life unconsciously, or we're bypassing something that really upsets us because we're scared to shed a tear, what is that teaching anybody?
Yeah.
That's not respecting ourselves. That's not respecting our inner child. Would you,
Mhm.
as your child at 4 years old, when they come to you because their heart is hurting, tell them to don't worry about it, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. We would never
Mhm.
do that to our children. So why do we do it to ourselves?
Mm.
Right?
And those could be some patterns you were talking about, generational stuff going on, like that's another thing where we need to really take a hard look at what was given to us, unconsciously too from our parents. I think a lot of people have been told that, if you don't stop crying, like I'll give you a reason to cry about, or like just go to your room and be quiet. So a lot of it is trauma related as well and programming from parents, who themselves were kind of blocked and limited in what they were able to do. It's like people can only love you to the level that they love themselves. People can only
Absolutely.
give you what they have given to themselves. So I think it's also really important in our sacred partnerships to really recognize if somebody is emotionally available, if they're capable of empathy, if there's so many women, and myself included, end up in narcissistic relationships with people who have no ability to empathize, have no ability to connect with you on that deep level because they are simply so
It's a
clogged
lack,
up, you know?
right? And it's a
Hmm.
lack of emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
And there's so many wounds. I mean, the mother wound, the father wound, and then it's just, unfortunately, a lot of humans walk this earth feeling that like that's what it is. And it's not. We're all love. We're all love, right? The center of us is bliss. Like that's the goal, is to get to that bliss, right? It's like an onion and you just peel all the layers back to
Yes.
get to that center, right? And that's what we're supposed to be doing,
Oh
but
yeah.
we don't.
Let's get to the core and look at all the
That's
juiciness that's in the core, right? Look at this
yeah.
conversation. It has stemmed from us peeling those layers. There's so many, so maybe this conversation is like, I don't know, like maybe people are how to say, wondering like what I mean, there's so many benefits from doing this hard work, right? Like it's hard, yes, but there's so many benefits to doing the inner work because then you get to connect with others like you, like, who have been doing the work as well. And especially now, I feel like the world is coming to a place where, whew, like everything is coming to the surface, and those who have been doing the work are going to kind of breeze through these periods a little bit easier, those who have kind of been through it. But those who are just kind of starting to wake up, like you're in for a ride, you know what I mean? Like hang on tight because we're accelerating too in our consciousness. Like everything is happening really fast. People are
Yeah.
waking up, or some
Yeah.
are not being called to wake up, and sadly they will go down a different route, right? But those who are awakening, um, yeah, there's just so many beautiful things like synchronicities that start happening. You start aligning. It's like divine alignment, right? And I've heard this so many times before. And I started like seeing little snippets of it, when I was fasting or juicing and things like that, where I was like super powerful manifester. But now it's just like my life has become a magical manifestation, like miracle. You know what I mean? Like every day I'm just like, oh, there's another miracle. Oh, this,
It's
you know?
true. When you open yourself up to receiving,
Yeah.
you will receive.
Yes.
And sometimes we have to say, be careful for what you ask for and be more detailed. Because
Yes.
if you're just asking for abundance and you're not so detailed, like you're going to get abundance in every way if you're open to receiving it. So I think it's a great practice to, when you're sitting in your stillness and your meditation or your moving meditations, to be really mindful of what you're asking for, and then also be mindful of what you're receiving.
Mhm.
Conscious, trust the
Mm.
process. Trust the process.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right.
Queen Cheryl says meditation and breath are so important. Absolutely. Um, It'll change your whole life, really. Like having a practice. And like you said, if you feel better doing the asanas, if you feel like maybe a dancing meditation may be better for you, or it could be a walking meditation. It doesn't have
Yeah.
to be a static meditation. I just want to like throw that out there too, because I know a lot of people do struggle with just like sitting still with themselves. But I think anything could become a meditation, right? Like as you walk, you could be like taking 4 steps, inhaling, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then exhaling, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or
Yeah.
just making that exhale a little bit longer, or it could be the same. You could like play around with it, but bringing your focus on the breath and your steps. When I went to Deer Park, the nuns there, they showed us how to do a walking meditation, and it was fantastic. I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, go very slowly, heel to toe, right? Heel to toe, feeling it,
Yeah.
feeling the like earth's energy. Or even if you're not going slow and you're outside, just don't wear earplugs. I
Mhm.
mean, yeah, you can definitely listen to music if you feel called to, but sometimes it's really nice to just be in nature and hear the birds chirping, or like
Yeah.
see the squirrels running and like actually listen to them running. And it's being more conscious, like tuning in to more of these things
Mhm.
that we just like take for granted and just don't pay attention to. Some like dancing, you said a dancing meditation, like somatic release, like shaking it out,
Yeah.
dancing, jumping around. Like it's whatever feels good to you.
Hmm.
It's what you feel called to, but like honor yourself and take the time to do those things that feel good. Like don't always feel like you have to be in that sympathetic of go, 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 go.
Hmm.
Honor yourself, like respect yourself enough to slow down, like read a book,
Yeah.
listen to music, like go to a sound healing, go to a yoga class, like find what serves you so then you can be open to receiving and to serving others and to gifting them your magic.
Yes. And we can only, to add to that, like we can only serve from a full cup. And this, I had to learn this the hard way too, and really like trusting your sacred yes and your sacred no will help you to stay more full. Because sometimes when we say yes, when we really want to say no, oh, a little leak happens there. Oh, another little leak. Oh, I'm gonna say yes because I'm nice and because I want to do this and please this one and that one. You're leaking. You're like a beautiful vase and you're just poking holes into yourself and it's just leaking out. Whereas now we're kind of like patching those holes and only saying yes to what feels 100% right, feels 100% aligned. And even that you have to be connected to yourself to know what feels right, what doesn't feel right. Can I trust my intuition? Do I trust myself? So the more we trust ourselves, the more we learn to trust ourselves. The more we do that, because we want to have a nice patched up vase that could hold all the love, all the water that we first and foremost give to ourselves. And people will try to take advantage. People will try to borrow money. People will try to get you to do them all kinds of favors. And if it's not like 100% aligned with what you want and who you are and what you can do, you will end up suffering in the end.
Right.
And they're not going to pay you back and they're not going to
Yeah.
show appreciation. And there's just like a lot of that. So I only say 100% yes to what feels like absolutely like yes.
Right. Because then it's a disservice to yourself, but it's also a disservice to them because then they're not getting the authentic you.
Mhm.
So it's okay to say no.
Yeah.
It's okay
Oh
to say
yeah.
no. I have learned this again the hard way. The accident, like I had to say no. I mean, there were times when Tom was in the hospital when he like finally came to after, being unconscious and he was begging me to come. And I'm like, I can't.
Mhm.
First of all, I can't drive. Second of all, I'm in so much pain.
Mhm.
I can't. And I had to say no. And it was hard, it was hard, but now looking back, he understands, but he never knew how severely injured I was because he was in such a place of his own pain.
Mhm.
But I had to come to that place to be able to like serve myself so I can heal to be able to help him. And that's
Yeah.
exactly how it happened. He came home and I took care of him.
Yes.
So it's important in life to be able to say no to things that, might be taking us to a place of overwhelm.
Mm. And being ready to have people be upset with us. I think that's a big one too. As a certified people pleaser, I am a recovering people pleaser. I was always afraid of upsetting people around me or having them not love me or not like me. So I would do things, friends, men, all kinds of people, parents, like just because I was afraid of them being upset with me. But guess what? I find people love me more now that I have very strong boundaries and I
Yeah,
have learned
because
to say no. And the real people stick around and they have that much more respect for you when you start to, honor yourself in that way.
that's what I just
And the
was
other
going to
ones could
say.
fall away. I don't even care. I'm honestly not attached to like losing people anymore. And I think that's huge
Yeah.
too, because that's
Right.
part of trusting the process too. It's like accepting that there's going to be people that will drop out of your life
Yeah.
naturally.
Well, ego is attachment and judgment.
Mhm.
If we don't operate from a place of ego, we don't have attachment and we don't judge.
Yeah.
And that's the goal. We
Mm.
don't we want again to come from a place of pure love and bliss
Yeah.
and just love people for who they are. We meet them where they're at. We meet ourselves where we're at, which is the most important thing is to always meet ourselves where we're at. And when we go back to becoming vulnerable into a place of letting our emotions come through, that's when we're meeting ourselves where we're at. If we're on our mat doing yoga to our only goal is to get into a handstand, then that's not meeting ourselves where we're at every day, because I don't know if every day we're going to be able to show up and be practicing this like strong yoga practice of doing these. People will, I'm not even going to go there because I was going to say advanced yoga, but to me, advanced yoga is meeting yourself where you're at. So I think it's letting go of the expectations, right? Just letting them fall and just being accepting of yourself and where you are that day. Like this past week, I injured my back, like bad. It hurt. I was pushing, and then I had to let it go. I had to reel it back and just take care of my body. And I met myself where I'm at. Back in the past, I probably would have pushed through the pain and everything else. But I met myself where I'm at. So like, that's like the advanced yoga is just like listening to what you need, listening to your body and honoring it every day. And that's operating from a place of love, not ego, not judgment, because I'm not judging myself and I'm not holding on to any expectations.
Mm, that's so good. That's so good. And we have to also like not compare ourselves to others. It's so funny you said advanced yoga because I'm that girl in the yoga class that's looking around, seeing who's doing the whole move and being like, okay, I need to do that.
Right.
And I
But
really had
why?
to put my ego in check and be like,
Yeah.
I want to be advanced like her. Like, and I really pushed myself hard when I was doing yoga at the beginning, because I wanted to get into that headstand. I wanted to get into that, crow pose and like all the things because I had to, and it was like,
Yeah.
and I was, and I guess, I had to like come to yoga in a different way now, where I'm just like, I'm just gonna do what I can today, Some days I
Yeah.
might push myself, some days I might not. But even if
Right.
I'm in a yoga class, I'm able to like look around and even if they're doing, more complicated poses, I'll be like, not today. And I'm fine with that, which like took me
Yeah.
years.
Right. It's a pretty shape. It's a pretty shape to put your body into that shape.
Yeah.
But I also learned that the hard way. For me, before the accident, that was yoga for me. I was always on my head. I was always trying handstands. I was always trying like all those beautiful poses. But
Yeah.
I don't do that anymore. I don't. For me now, yoga is getting on my mat and feeling safe and being able to come to like a beautiful practice of really feeling every single thing that I'm doing, not rushing through it. I love slow yoga now. Like I
Yeah.
love, the pace of going slower and grounding where I used to be like, it has to be power, it has to be fast, it has to be feeling, and it has to be no. So, and there's that's a meditation, right? That's a meditation. So yeah, I
Well,
know. And then
we understand each other. I think coming from, the ED world and addictions, we're kind of intense people,
right,
We
little
can
bit.
be very intense.
Right. And so for us, our struggle is having these hard conversations and then being open to receiving that it's okay for us to slow down. And actually, it benefits us so we can get out of all that chatter in our head and take us into a more
Yeah.
like there's rajastic energy and there's tamastic energy. And we want to be in like the oh my God, I'm going to mess it up. Me and my Sanskrit. It's the balance. It's the middle. Do you know what I'm talking? It's
Yeah.
I'm not even going to embarrass myself
I don't
because
know
my
it.
Sanskrit's
The
awful.
middle.
And you don't have to know Sanskrit to do yoga.
Yeah.
But it's
No.
becoming, it's in the middle. We want to be in the middle.
Yeah.
And ideally, we do want to get out of that sympathetic, and that sympathetic nervous system, sympathetic state. And we want to bring ourselves into the parasympathetic. And that also is the beauty of yoga because we're moving through and then we're holding and we're working with our breath. And then that's steadying our mind. And it's working with both hemispheres of the brain to come into that middle place.
I love that. And we could even apply that to food. We'll go a little bit longer, but I definitely want to touch on this
Yeah.
because I see a lot of people, and myself included, in the raw vegan community, the fruitarian community, that, well, I'll just share a little bit about myself, but I think it's so good that you said finding the middle, right? Because I think it's definitely like the way to go. I think like there's definitely an ideal for me, like an ideal way to eat, but also it can be very stressful to stick to that. A little bit like the yoga, right? It's like it's almost like a performance, and it was becoming a little bit of I mean, I was doing it for healing reasons, of course, but then I just couldn't stay, I couldn't steer off track. Like it was just, I was just really, really hard on myself. And I found that recently, incorporating a little bit of cooked foods and going back to like the mucusless diet healing system, opening my mind to something. I mean, I was identified with that. Like I am the raw vegan queen. Like I don't
Right.
even put maple syrup to my mouth because that's been boiled. I don't drink tea because it's hot. Like, you know what I mean? Like I was so hardcore
Mhm.
but I realized my mind wasn't all there. And I'm not saying
Right.
raw vegan is not the healthiest way to eat, but I feel like for me, it's like trusting that process and not being so hard on myself. It's like, listen, you're eating 95% fruit. Like, so what if you want to have a bit of butternut squash in the evening time with your salad? Like, can you love yourself there? And can you accept that this might be the way that you need to be eating right now? You know what I mean? This is the way that your body, like, trust yourself as well to know that you're feeling nourished. Like to me, eating a little bit of steamed broccoli felt better in my body than eating raw broccoli. Like I wasn't enjoying the raw broccoli. It wasn't good to me. Like, and people are like, "Oh, you're not supposed to be eating broccoli." And I'm like, "I like broccoli. I want to eat it. So I'm going to find a way so that I could eat it." I feel like my body's calling me for that. So that's that element of trust as well. And and I am like, 95% on fruit. So I think like I'm doing pretty good and also like learning to love myself if I decide to have a piece of bread, where I was like so rigid and it was becoming another part of the ED mentally. So, yeah.
I think it's beautiful that you touched on that. And I think it's also beautiful that you intuitively listen to what your body needs, meeting yourself where you're at.
Mhm.
And I think it becomes another part of the eating disorder when you're labeling yourself.
Yes.
So I also learned this, especially after the accident. And we spoke about this last time. My body was craving like sweet potatoes,
Oh.
I think they're called Asian potatoes, the ones that like are yellow on the inside. They're like
Uh-huh.
my favorite kind. I think that's the name of them. Japanese Asian, whatever. Sweet potato. We'll say sweet potatoes. I was craving them every night. My body obviously needed it. It's
Mhm.
not craving sugar. It's not
Right.
craving processed food. It's craving real food.
Yes.
And I am the same way. Like I was so proud of my like raw vegan title. And I was like eating like banana and ice cream all the time for like dinner. And like I was like, right, I was like on that like total like all fruit like for days, and then I would like break it with like some like salad at night like days later, and I was like woohoo. But I now have come to a place of I want to serve my body with like the most nutrients, the most nutrient dense food that I can find. And I want to enjoy life. Now, like for me, my body doesn't really digest grains. It doesn't digest, like beans. So like I like stick more towards like the detox type diet, Dr. Morse like protocol. Um, but I don't put like labels on myself anymore. And last night I had a sweet potato. Like maybe I'll have another one tonight. Who cares? It's
Exactly.
just eating whole foods
Yeah.
and getting right and like cooked, not cooked. Like at least we're getting in the minerals, the vitamins. We belong to a company where we have our superfoods, so
Yes.
we're like really like rounding everything out. We're doing our best, and I think it is important to not trade hands from like one addiction of I mean, for me, it was like hardly eating, and it was looking at food as like a ooh scary
Mhm.
to having these expectations of like how we should eat.
Mhm.
I think it's just, like honoring what our body wants and needs and craves. And I mean, I always see all of your posts. I love it. I love your salads. I love like that you're making your own salad dressings. You're
Yeah.
doing like everything that your body wants.
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. I'm happy you've been having those experiences too. It's just like, yeah, removing those high expectations, that we may be putting on ourselves. And when we look at like the rest of the world, we're still in the 0.001%. You know what I mean? Like there's already not that many vegans in this world. There's already not that many people like taking it to this level, right? Like
Right.
juicing and eating the fruit, like we are doing so good. And
Yeah.
yeah, like I've kind of like been navigating more freely through those realms, like I just did 5 days on juices and I didn't even feel the need to like share that with people. I was just like, oh wow, did that just happen? Like I wasn't really hungry. Like my body was just calling for a little cleanse. I may jump on another one. I may not, but I am trying to like I've been trying to get on an extended one. Every year, just kind of like naturally, I feel my body wanting like 100 days on juice, which is like so
Yeah.
interesting. But
Yeah.
now it's like, what's loving to myself in this moment? Like, is it to continue on the juices or is it to have this soup, for example, that I just made my daughter that smells so delicious? So just like going with that natural flow and that natural um yeah, just like going with the flow, it can't be like so forced. And I know at the beginning, if somebody's going on a juice cleanse, there may be like a little bit of resistance, but I've had many, many experiences, so I know how to like listen to myself. Like, is this
Right.
is this the real time to start, or it's just like a subtle little difference
I was
between,
going,
yeah.
yeah, I
Go
was going
ahead.
to talk on that. Like yeah, I've done like many detoxes. And when you and I talk about detoxes, I know that you mentioned you've done water fast. I've never done a water fast. I've never done a dry fast. I hope I never have to do a dry fast. I personally have never done a juice fast, and that's okay.
Yeah.
My central nervous system doesn't react well to anything extreme. Like
Mhm.
I personally would never do a cold plunge because I know that that would turn my nervous system upside down and it doesn't serve me. And
Yeah.
it's most women. Like there's really no research on cold plunges for women. So, but like your body craved a juice fast. Like my body still isn't in a place to do any sort of like a detox because I'm still in that like highly sympathetic, like really still trying to heal a lot
Yeah.
of things.
Hmm.
So it doesn't work for me, but it works for you. The juice cleanse. So you met yourself where you're at and you did it.
Yeah.
Right? Not for a
Yeah.
label, not for any other reason.
Right, right. Yeah, it's that like yeah, that humility that it takes. And sometimes I like to share too because I like to, I do
Help.
feel like part of my purpose is to, guide and teach and inspire others too. It's like it's pretty awesome to say, like, oh wow, I did like I'm proud of myself. But it's like, wow, can you do that without telling anyone? So that was the first time actually, like last week when I did 5 days, I just kind of like silently went through it. And this is the first time I talk about it, where I'm
Yeah.
just like, wow, like I just did that. And it wasn't for any other reason than for my own little cleanse that I did. Um, but yeah, I mean it's definitely and there everybody has their own way. Like juice cleansing may not be for everybody. Plant medicine
Right.
may not be for everybody. When I came out of my plant medicine ceremonies, I was telling everybody, I was like, "Oh my God, you gotta try this ayahuasca. You gotta try these magic mushrooms." And
Yeah.
they're just like, "I have no interest in that." And I was like, "What? Really?
Yeah.
Don't you want to like go deep and have a spiritual experience?" And they were just like, no, at all.
I'm good.
And so I
Yeah,
kind of like,
it's
yeah.
right. And that's where then that's again like comes full circle. The whole conversation is trusting the process. And like
Mm,
so everybody like that you were talking to that didn't want to do it trust the process of what they're doing and you trust the process of the plant medicine.
yeah.
I won't do plant medicine because I know myself. I'm scared of my own shadow. Like I like being like in control. That's me, right? It doesn't work for me, but I have friends that will do plant medicine because they love the spiritual aspect of it and they're able to like let go and like really
Mhm.
like come to like a whole different place, which is great. But it's trusting the process and what our beliefs are, not putting any limiting beliefs on ourselves, not living in lack, living in abundance, meeting ourselves where we're at, like coming to ourselves always with compassion and gratitude and acceptance. And I think that's like I feel like that's the answers to like life.
Yeah.
Right? And that's when the universe is like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to grant you all of this because you're asking for it and you're deserving of it and you're open for it."
Mhm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, with the pineal clear that we have too at Purium, we don't need any plant medicines. And
Yeah.
the apothecary, I've been having like intense dreams. Like that is very, yes, it's very similar to like a journey where I'm like lucid dreaming and
Yeah.
very, very vivid dreams, deep, deep sleep. So there's ways to access those realms, like we produce our own DMT in our brain too. Like we have that.
Yes.
Naturally, so through breath work, through different practices, through yoga, like do a 90-minute yoga session and hot yoga, and then go into Shavasana and tell me you're not having, I don't know. I have visions. I don't know if everybody has visions,
That's
but I start like
amazing.
tripping.
Yeah, no, that's you're opening up your chakras.
Yeah.
I mean, you're opening up all of those chakras and you're going through all of the necessary processes to do so.
Yeah.
And again, you're open to it.
Hmm.
So, that's why you're really like you're staying present. You're not here, you're not there, you're here.
Hmm.
You're able to experience it. And that's like
Yeah.
you should be so grateful for that you're able to get to that place.
Yeah, no, so grateful. Yeah, I'm giving thanks and giving so much thanks to yoga, to life, to the
Yeah.
universe, to all my beautiful friends, sisterhood, like building community like this, building connections means the world to me. Thank you so, so much for being an amazing friend, an amazing,
Oh,
partner in health, yoga
yeah.
teacher, like an angel. You're definitely an angel in my life and in the life of so many now who, have been graced by your presence. So if you're not following Queen Elissa, please check out her socials, Elissa Paige, Paige. And you do online classes as well if somebody wants to reach out to you for yoga or, yeah?
I would love to do online classes. I definitely will. I told you, I just set up my YouTube channel. I have no idea if I did it
Yay!
right or not, but that
Congrats!
is in the works. So yeah,
Yay!
so I'm going to be able to upload like our discussions. And
Amazing.
I am so grateful to be in like this relationship with you, in community with you. Obviously, we're both not preaching to like live our lifestyle, but just take care of yourself. Like do what honors you. And like our health is all we have, right? I mean, we don't want it to be too late. So like I think that's my message, is to always take care of yourself. And it's all connected. Our spirituality is connected to the vibration that we get from our foods. So I feel it's really important to be feeding ourselves like the highest quality that we can get. But I love
Definitely.
our chats and I'm so grateful and honored to be here with you again. Thank
Me
you.
too, my love. Thank you so much. We literally just flowed. Like we had kind of an idea what we were going to talk about. So I'm like, this conversation is going to be about trusting the process, and it's going to be one of those things where you're trusting the process, you know? So it's
Right.
just like perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, we and I said last night, let's just talk intuitively. And we
Yes.
did, and it
Yes.
works.
I love it. I love how balanced like your approach to healing and what you've been integrating in your life. Like I keep feeling like balanced. You're very balanced and you're very like it's calming to my nervous system right now. And I've had to kind of pull out from some of the communities that I was in, the extreme kind of mentality or just like that hyper focus on just the foods, because I really want to get into more of a holistic way of um having conversations, like
Yeah.
bringing in the yoga and even our community that I just launched, the RAWvolution Inner Circle. That's what it's all about. We actually do offer yoga 3 times a week with my sis Bryce, who does
Yeah.
yoga. She was already kind of offering classes. So I'm like, why don't we plug in our community and do this?
Yeah.
Because I feel like just changing the food isn't enough. Like there's so much more that we could touch on, and it's
It's
important to be well-rounded. Yeah.
it's so true. And I it's interesting that you say that you like how I feel so balanced, because I was not that way. I mean, I suffered an eating disorder.
Mhm.
Like I was extreme. We won't, that's a whole nother conversation, but like I really honestly believe that from the accident I found more acceptance in my life and more balance, and then being able to just like let go of stories that don't serve me.
Mhm.
Like it doesn't work for me. I'm not going to stand in that anymore. um Being more kind to my body. I mean, this is a meat suit, right? Like this has not this has nothing to do with what's inside of
Mhm.
here.
Yeah.
So it's like really trying to like come to that place to know like I do love myself. Like I honestly can say that. I love like who I am as a mom. I love who I am as a partner. I mean, yes, I have my downfalls, of course we all do, but like I love who and what I stand for in this world. And
Mm.
I want other people to feel that way about themselves because we're beautiful human beings, right?
Aw.
We're having beautiful human experiences on this like this journey that we're on, this bus that we're on that just keeps going, whether we're on it or not. It's going. Heading
Oh,
that way.
yes. Oh, thank you so much for saying that. I wish I could give you a big hug and just tell
Oh,
you how
I
amazing
know.
you are. And thank
Oh,
you so
you
much
too.
for loving yourself and for helping us to love ourselves. Like truly, truly, when we heal ourselves, like how you're doing, you heal the world. And you have no idea how many lives you're touching. I'm so proud of you for starting your YouTube channel. Please let's, get your voice out there to the world because so many young girls, young men, or older women, older men, like of all ages, are going through this. To see you loving and embracing yourself
Yeah.
is really, really, healing for us all. So I thank you so much for surviving, for being here and being so positive. You are a bright light, and you are definitely being called and chosen for such a time as this because
Oh,
people
thank
need
you.
you. I need you. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I need you. And I think that like we need each other.
Yeah, definite. I
Yeah.
can't wait to meet you in person.
Yes. Come
Yes.
to Florida.
I am. Trust me. It's like it's happening.
I
I'm
know because you're
coming.
probably getting really cold up there right now.
I am already freezing my butt off and wondering why I'm
What
still
you're doing.
here. But
Yeah.
there's again,
There's a reason.
there's another reason. We could get into that another time. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a reason. But
Yeah.
just think warm thoughts.
Yes.
Tropical warm thoughts.
I'm going to the gym just now. I'm taking the girls to, I'm probably gonna go and sweat a little bit. See, like we gotta
Yeah.
work with what we got. Like I can't go outside and get hot. Well, I'm gonna go to the gym and go to the sauna and try to get as warm as I can. And I'm not going to no cold plunge either. I don't feel like that's right at all.
No, no, I don't either. I don't want to. I think when our nervous systems are already in this state of
Yeah.
constant going, that we shouldn't be giving it more of a shock by immersing ourselves in, yeah, ice cold water.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, sauna sounds really good though.
Sauna sounds great. Please, I
Yeah,
want some
that's
sweat.
yes. Well, go do your thing. Thank you so much for
Thank
your
you so
time and our
much. Yes.
talk.
Thank
Yeah.
you. And thank you to everybody who joined us. If you have any questions for Queen Elissa or you'd like to see us come back on with another topic, please let us know. I would absolutely be honored to have you back on. I love our conversations. Feels really natural and feels really good. And I am so, so grateful for everything. So thank you
Yes,
so
I couldn't
much.
agree more. Thank you. Thank
All right.
you.
We
All
will
right, everybody have a
see.
beautiful rest of your day.
Yes. Bye, everyone. Love you all so
Bye.
much. Bye.
Bye.